Good morning, everyone. I'm going to have another meeting this morning, so we're going to go through kind of our normal routine here. We're going to start off with a number talk, and as we've been talking about time the past few days, this morning's number talk is also going to be about time. So the question is kind of what time is it, or what time will it be? So what you're going to see is a starting time and a certain amount of time that's passed, and I want you to tell me what time it will be when that's done. Okay? And just a reminder, please pause the video to make sure there's some time for discussion as we go through here. Okay, so here's the first one. Okay, what time is it? 45 minutes after 8:30 a.m. Okay, so if you're back, hopefully you've come to the conclusion it is going to be 9:15 a.m. Okay, here's the next one. 90 minutes after 9:45 p.m. And if we're back, again, hopefully you've come to the conclusion that this is 11:15 p.m. And last but not least, what time is it? 35 minutes after 11:50 p.m. All right, and for this one, I'm pretty sure this is going to be 12:25 a.m. right on the next day. If this was a Friday, this would be a Saturday, something like that. Okay, so this morning we talked the past couple of days about time zones and reading time between dates. So where this kind of ties in a little bit has to do with scheduling. So this is going to be a very, very brief note, just a couple of small things, and you'll have quite a bit of time to practice. And of course, tomorrow being Friday, we'll have our usual quiz on Friday. Okay? So for the first one, this just kind of comes from a little story from my own experience. When you go on a field trip, so you want to take someone somewhere, or a class or a team somewhere, you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. So this was for my improv team. Okay, we have competitions, and they always occur at night, usually in Guelph or Kitchener. So this is what I wrote on my form. Okay, that we're leaving the school at 4 p.m. on March 23rd, and we're going to get back to the school at 12:30 a.m. on March the 24th. Okay, so that was what I put in my form, because that was, I thought, were the approximate times for everything. Okay, and unfortunately, my proposal for this trip got rejected. Okay, because I was told this is an overnight trip. Okay, and I didn't have the required number of chaperones, and hadn't booked a hotel or anything, and so this was not an okay trip. So what I'd like you to do for a couple minutes is maybe discuss for a second, is that right? Okay, was I actually planning an overnight trip? Okay, maybe answer how long, right? How long were we actually going to be away from the school? Okay, so take a moment. Maybe discuss, and then we'll resume with a possible answer here. Okay, so not your back. Okay, hopefully, if you did some counting up here, right? If I use the benchmark for midnight, right? That's when March 24 starts. So how many hours from here to here? Well, 12 take away 4. That's 8 hours. And then this is another half of an hour. Okay, so this whole trip that we're going to take was only going to be 8.5 hours. Okay, and no, it's not overnight. We were going to be back in Owen Sound just very late on that night into the next day. So I have learned my lesson, and now every time I do a form like this, I say we're coming back at 11:59 on the same day that we left. Okay. I imagine someone who got the form just looked at the two dates and said, oh, you're leaving on the 23rd and coming back on the 24th? That's an overnight trip. Okay. So this is not too bad because it was just going back and forth on the same day in the same kind of area. Okay, where it can be a little bit trickier to read this is when you're talking about air travel. Okay, because you cover large distances fairly quickly, and the whole time zone thing can come into play. So a flight leaves Toronto at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and lands in Calgary at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. How long was the actual flight? Okay, so the key thing here is remembering the time zone part, okay, because it might look like, and actually I should probably put PM here, that would help. Let me fix that. That's PM. Okay, so again, the key thing here is the time zone part, right? It might look like these are only 3 hours apart, but that's ignoring the fact that you've changed time zones. So to properly answer this question, we need to convert one of the two. Okay, it doesn't really matter which one, but let's say, for argument's sake, we'll keep Toronto's the way it is, so Eastern Standard Time. Okay, Calgary, and if you have a look at that map from yesterday, okay, Calgary is 2 hours. So Calgary is 2 hours behind Toronto. Right? It's 2 time zones earlier. It's 2 hours earlier there. Okay, so 1 p.m. in Calgary, Mountain Standard Time, is the same as, okay, they're 2 hours behind. So if I wanted to convert this time to Ontario time, I'd have to go 2 hours forward. Okay, so this is actually 3 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time, right? Because Toronto is 2 hours ahead of Calgary. Okay, so now that I have that, it's a little easier to figure out what's going on because we're in the same time. So if I'm starting at 10 a.m. and it goes to 3 p.m., okay, that means it takes, right? So counting up 10, 11, 12, so 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, okay, it's going to take about 5 hours for this flight. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So the only thing you have to watch for if you're reading these kind of schedules is that if you're switching time zones, okay, then you have to take that into account to figure out how long the flight would be. Okay, this is a kind of fun side note that you wouldn't have this problem if you were, say, flying to Florida, because when you fly north-south, you tend to stay in the same time zone. But flying from east to west does make a bit of a difference there. Okay, so you should be getting a handout now about reading schedules and calculating times. So you got the rest of the class to work on that. Okay, and as I said earlier, we're going to have a regular Friday quiz tomorrow. All right, so have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you then.